It's Sean and Stacy. We're celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary with a few days in London before our transatlantic Disney cruise.
We got a full night's sleep, which was great because we have a lot to do today. We're heading to the Tower of London and then some sightseeing around town. But first, we're going to grab some breakfast at this bakery right down the street from our hotel. We're told that it's a very posh place to go to. We didn't know at the time, but our food was fantastic. Stacy had a wonderful chocolate swirl. I had a croissant with bacon and brie and onion chutney. We love this place so much, we went the 2 next days as well. And then onto the underground for our trip to the Tower of London. The London transportation system is amazing. For the subway, when you go to get on, you tap in using your phone or your credit card. They charge you an amount based on the distance you go, so that when you get off, you have to tap out. And if you somehow miss it or forget, they'll charge you a full rate. So make sure you don't miss that.
So an actual moat, just like what's around Cinderella Castle.
So we've arrived at the Tower of London, and there is so much to see, like those wire animal sculptures that represent the zoos that were actually in the tower from the 1200s to the 1800s. Looking around, you'll see touches for Halloween, like the pumpkins on the spikes near the entrance. I find that really funny. Then we start to get into some of the real history of the tower, including this area that relates the mysterious story of the 2 princes who disappeared back in the late 1400s. I feel like they tried to do a real Harry Potter Deathly Hallows thing here with the AV. The way the rooms and paths are set up, it's very easy to move around the tower without encountering too many crowds, even on a busy day. Around the tower, you'll find the warders or beefeaters who actually guard the Tower of London. Some of them will do guided tours for free, some of them will actually stand guard. And again, me and the Halloween thing had to pose a little bit for it. They did have several different displays set up in different areas of the tower. We then moved on to the focal point of the Tower of London. This is the White Tower. Construction on this first part of the castle began back in 1080. Kings lived in here, people were imprisoned in here. It was used to house collections of armor as a museum. So this was a multi-purpose part of the castle. The tower includes a chapel where we heard a bit of a story about an uprising that included the peasants barging into the castle and taking prisoners inside the chapel. They still do hold services here once a month that the public can go to. Armaments are a big part of the display, and there is no shortage of guns and spikes and cannons for you to look at. And of course, everybody knows about the crown jewels. Now apparently you're not supposed to take photos or videos inside the display, which I must have missed because I was told, turn off your camera, sir.
All of our kings and queens lived here for over 500 years. The last monarch to reside in there was James I in 1603. There are 4 levels to the building, 3 of which have windows. Some of you working this out already, yes. Anne Boleyn never got to live in there because we chopped her head off over here a few years before that. We'll talk about her execution shortly. We've had some famous prisoners held in there, the likes of Guy Fawkes, Rudolf Hess, deputy leader of Nazi Germany, was held in there for 3 days in May 1941. Queen Catherine Howard, Henry VIII's 5th wife, was held in there before she was executed over here as well.
That beefeater gave a really excellent presentation, and it included how he got his job, and it is a requirement for any of them to have 20 years of military service before applying. It's a whole process, so I highly recommend those free tours that they give. All right, it's around lunchtime. We're heading across the Tower Bridge to get to this place that we've seen online called The Vault, and it is hidden underneath the bridge. It was a cute little pub, and this was our first chance to get some fish and chips, so we definitely wanted to head in there and see what we could find. Something interesting I discovered as we went into several London pubs is that the British don't seem to be interested in high alcohol content draft beer. Like in America, you go into a bar, you can find beers from maybe 4% to 10% at the high end. But in the London pubs, they just seem to be like 3.5%, 4.5%, sort of like session beers.
All right, so we're eating lunch in this place that we found on Instagram. That is a huge piece of fish, but look, we got mushy peas.
And the peas were interesting. The fish was excellent, hot and crispy. My shrimp scampi was sort of bland, so I wasn't a huge fan. And I had an old-fashioned to finish it off.
All right, so we're standing here, and Stacy is contemplating pushing people into the river.
Yeah.
You can see the river's like right there, and there's people all over the place. So she just wants to go right down the line pushing people into the river.
Not my idea.
That's a great idea.
Okay, it was my idea. That's just my weird sense of humor, but they were all just sitting on the wall waiting. Anyway, so we continued down the waterfront and we found what we were looking for. It's Borough Market, and we had heard so much about this place from our daughter who had spent 3 weeks in London back in college. This market is just absolutely amazing. It was busy that day, but it wasn't overly crowded to the point where we couldn't move around. Of course, we went after having a full lunch, which was a complete mistake because there is so much good food to choose from.
Oh my god, it's crazy. This whole area is nothing but cheese.
And in that particular area, it wasn't just looking at the cheese. The entire environment just smelled like cheese. The Parmesan, the Gouda, it just enveloped you. It was amazing. So that when we came upon a stand selling raclette, we could not hold back, unfortunately, even though we had just had that huge lunch. And if you don't know what raclette is, it's sort of a Swiss kind of cheese, but it's not just the kind of cheese, it's the way they prepare it.
All right, we're getting raclette and the market. Stacey's like, I want all this stuff on the bottom.
that,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They got grilled cheese here too, but we're going for the raclette.
Oh my
Oh my god.
There we go. Okay, so pepper and pickles.
Yes,
Please.
It's interesting, I think all these things happen naturally to ancient people because they used to hunt and carry, run for hours after an animal or something, but they couldn't afford to be hungry.
Right.
Right, they call it the caveman diet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want the cheese.
Just the cheese, please.
Thank you. Oh, so good.
We just had raclette for £8. Whole plate of potatoes, pickles. You need the pickles, obviously. You got to cut that fat on the cheese, but the raclette cheese, so good. Gosh, we just got done in Borough Market. I want to eat all the things. Do not go there on anything but a completely empty stomach, and it will be heaven for you. We discovered the Harry Potter Bridge, where the Dementors came and cursed the bridge and it fell over.
The actual name of the bridge is the Millennium Bridge. The weather was nice, but I still had on a sweatshirt and long pants because it was about 65 degrees. Continuing on down the waterfront, under the Waterloo Bridge is a book sale that's always going on and a lot of interesting reading like, well, really, Mr. Twiddle. I wanted to get into that one, but I didn't have time. We also found our old friend Harry Potter and his series. Right next door is the London Eye. We thought maybe we'd go and try to get tickets for it, but we were too late in the day and they were sold out, so I recommend getting those ahead of time, at least earlier than 4:30 that afternoon. Then across the overly crowded Westminster Bridge to take in some more famous landmarks like Big Ben, Parliament, and Westminster Abbey. Alright, it's getting into the evening hours, so it's time for dinner. We found a nearby pub, and another interesting British thing, they just like to hang out outside in the street with their glasses and drink beer. It's kind of fun. We didn't have any issue getting a table, even though it was very crowded. I think they hold tables for people that actually want to eat and not just sit around and drink. We wanted to get something traditionally British, so we had our eye on the sharing pie board. And of course we wanted a cocktail, and they had a limited list, and they really didn't know anything not on menu. I tried to get an old-fashioned, and they had no idea how to make it, so I ended up just getting a shot of whiskey and some water. Stacy had been told to try a Pimm's and lemonade by a friend, and she said it was delightful.
So what is it again? We got the vegetarian one.
Cauliflower.
Yeah.
This is beef and onion. Yeah, I
Was
got the
it
first two and then last.
Vegetarian, beef and onion.
Chicken bacon and meat, steak and egg.
chicken, bacon, and leek, and steak.
Chicken, bacon, and yeah, that's it.
It was fun to try all the different flavors, but actually they were sort of, I don't want to say stodgy, because I got that from the British baking show, but they could have used something to brighten them up, maybe a little acid, some lemon or something like that. The flavors inside were fine, but nothing really jumped out at me, and it was all kind of heavy, which is what we expected. I mean, we're looking at a bunch of carbs on that table. Carbs to no end. We couldn't even finish all the turnips and things that were on the side. It was definitely a fun experience trying out all the pies, and I feel like the price was right at about £62 for everything that we had, so it was a successful evening. All right, we have a lot to do tomorrow, so let's get back to the hotel and get some sleep.